A temporary reprieve for the Ospreys. Supporters and players breathe a sigh of relief, but the union vows to plough on with plans to axe a club. What happened to Bradley? A family's desperate search for answers after the body of the young father was found floating in a pond.
Our election roadshow arrives internationally, where we'll be speaking to voters about the issues on their minds.
And springing into action, the signs of the season are all around, including the sunshine. But don't get caught out. It might be warm by day, but it's still cold enough for a frost by night. I'll have the forecast later in the programme.
Hello, good evening. There's been another dramatic twist in the saga over the future of Wales' Big Four rugby teams. The takeover of Cardiff Rugby by Ospreys owners Y11 has been abandoned today, and the Welsh Rugby Union has confirmed that it intends to fund all four regions until the end of the 2027-28 season. It's a development that provides short-term clarity, but the union remains adamant that it wants to axe a region in 2 years' time, as Matt Southcombe now reports.
Almost a year to the day, Cardiff Rugby collapsed into administration and was rescued by the Welsh Rugby Union. And after 12 months of turmoil, anger and toxicity, today we arrived back at square one. Cardiff remains in WRU ownership indefinitely, and Y11's controversial bid to take over the capital region has been abandoned, their focus now returning to their ownership of the Ospreys.
Use the analogy, and it's quite a small analogy, but it's important, I think, when you're looking to sell something, whether it's your house or whether it's a rugby club, you have a choice at which point in the market you choose to sell it. And a team that is maybe performing better in a couple of years' time might be, a better sell.
But uncertainty lingers. The union insists their intention is to reduce to 3 teams in 2 years' time. But there is still no plan to turn that vision into a reality.
Why should fans have faith in the executive and the board to actually achieve what they're trying to do?
I think it is complex, and there's lots of different things that happen. So when you do the press conferences in October, there was a definite commitment to try and find it by consensus at that point. But the board and the executive are absolutely determined to do this in the best way possible. And we've also got to constantly balance what's best as a national governing body in the interest of the whole system.
For the Ospreys, today's news represents a lifeline. The region's existence has been in doubt ever since their owners began negotiating over the purchase of Cardiff earlier this year.
I think in Welsh rugby has been probably the worst ever, really, because of the uncertainty. 12 months ago, virtually to the day, we were looking at 4 teams, then it was 2, then it was 3, and for at least we are where we are now, and we've got a degree of certainty to enable us to move forward on all fronts, as I said, both on and off the field.
But the reality is, I think perhaps this is a way of saving some pride, saving some face, saving some ego, and giving the fans what they quite clearly want, which is 4 really strong regional teams.
So a day when fans of the Ospreys breathed a huge sigh of relief. But the fight to save professional rugby in the region may well be reignited in the coming months.
And Matt is here to explain more. Matt, another twist. Where do we go from here?
Well, John, as we've touched on there, the WRU remains confident that the way forward in the long term is 3 teams. But as I said, right now there is no plan to make that a reality. Now, they say they will have some sort of plan to get there by June, but their track record of meeting their own deadlines recently is a bit mixed. For now, though, all 4 clubs remain. The Scarlets and the Ospreys are expected to sign up to the new financial agreement, joining Cardiff and the Dragons shortly.
And what have we heard from the company Y11 today, then?
Well, today we heard from the Ospreys owners for the first time in this entire process, and in a short statement, part of it read, PRA 25 for the Ospreys and top-tier rugby in Swansea, partnering with Swansea Council and developing St Helens is the right outcome. Thank you to the Ospreys supporters for their patience and understanding. We know these have been worrying times for fans. Now, some would argue that those worrying times have partly been by their own making. There was no apology to their fans in that statement for the part that they have played in all of this uncertainty. And I said that we're back to square one, and that has come at a cost, John, because there has been reputational damage to Welsh rugby, the likes of which we can't quite quantify yet. But the captains, Jack Morgan and Dowie Lake, have left Welsh rugby from next season and joined Gloucester. Would they have gone had they known that this long-term agreement was coming? And fans tonight will be asking, what was it all for?
OK, far from over. Matt, thanks very much indeed. Next tonight, the family of a 21-year-old father of two who was found dead in a pond near Merthyr Tydfil 2 months ago are tonight pleading for information about his death. The body of Bradley Hawkins was discovered by a walker in a fishing lake at Dowlais in February. But he didn't die of drowning, and South Wales Police say his death remains unexplained. Our correspondent Hannah Thomas takes up the story.
Bradley Hawkins was a young father with no criminal history, but the spot where he died has now become a place for his family to lay flowers. His uncle, Luke Bouchard, knows that he was found here at the Penywern Pond, but he doesn't know how he ended up in the water.
This has been a really tragic event for me and my family. Most of all for my sister Jaya, who's the mum of Bradley, and his two young sons. It's been a really, really emotional time for all of the family, really.
And they're desperately seeking answers about the circumstances around his death.
Bradley was actually missing a necklace, a watch. He always went everywhere with his watch, his necklace on. He had no money on him. The car keys for the car were missing. The car doors were open. The car had been ransacked.
But the family have no CCTV footage of Bradley's car being driven to the lake. Police have appealed for any CCTV.
Bradley was last seen outside a takeaway restaurant at 10:30 in the night. He's been seen on CCTV footage at 10:30 collecting his food from the takeaway shop.
Then they see a photo of Bradley's car discovered at the lake. It had been driven up to this barrier on the 24th of February.
We don't actually believe that Bradley was even alive when he actually got to this point.
Instead, they believe that his body had entered the lake because they know he didn't drown.
We were informed by South Wales Police that they attempted to stop Bradley's car at 48 minutes past 12 that evening. They weren't able to confirm who the driver was.
Bradley had no signs of trauma or injury, so the family don't believe he was harmed, but his possessions weren't with him.
So here's actually where Bradley's phone was found.
In the bushes?
It was actually found over this fence, in the bushes, which was nowhere near his vehicle.
South Wales Police say they're not currently treating Bradley's death as suspicious, but they do seek further information.
In a statement, South Wales Police say that inquiries are continuing into the unexplained death of Bradley Hawkins. They say that this is still a live investigation and that they are continuing to explore all lines of inquiry. Officers say they're grateful too to the wider community who are supporting their investigation.
Bradley's family say they just want answers as to how he met his death and nothing more.
We just want to know what happened to Bradley. This is not about blaming someone or trying to get some sort of revenge for what happened. We just want to know what happened to Bradley.
His uncle is focused on finding out the truth, but until that becomes clear, floral tributes are the only comfort he has. Hannah Thomas, ITV News in Merthyr Tydfil.
Now, have you decided how you might vote in the Senedd election? Well, with just 2 weeks to go, our special roadshow has arrived in Llanelli. So it's over to Andrea and the team there. Andrea.
John, thank you. Yes, good evening from Llanelli, the second stop on our Senedd election roadshow. In just over 2 weeks, Wales will go to the polls to elect our next Welsh government. We're live from the grounds of Park Howard Museum, which houses key parts of Llanelli's history and heritage, as we approach what is expected to be an historic election for Wales. where we are tonight is now part of the new constituency of Sir Gaerfyrddin, which takes in places like Llandovery, Brynaman, Carmarthen and, of course, Llanelli itself. And a major issue that faces this area and neighbouring constituencies is immigration and Wales's Nation of Sanctuary policy. The Nation of Sanctuary plan has become the focus of political debate in recent years, with protests happening outside so-called asylum hotels across the country, reflecting both support of and opposition to the policy. Political parties here in Wales have also landed on either side of the debate. Our reporter Richard Morgan has been speaking to those directly affected by the issue.
Summer 2023. Protesters gather outside the Stradey Park Hotel in Llanelli to demonstrate against Home Office plans to house more than 200 asylum seekers inside. For Jess, the memories are still fresh. At the time, she was living with her mother next door to the hotel. She recalls the anger in the community and the controversy which followed.
People lost their jobs, mine included. You know, I was working behind the bar in there, and you know, then boom, overnight, oh, it's shut. By the way, move over. You got 300 strangers coming in. What? At the beginning of the protest, it was incredible. Communities came together, but then towards the end, extreme groups ended up coming in, and I suppose dismantling the community in a sense.
There were arrests, and the atmosphere became so toxic that Jess says she felt forced to leave the country for 6 weeks. In the end, the plans were scrapped, but she says the affair has tainted the town's image.
Nobody really wants to come here anymore because of what's happened, and you know, it's just put a like achiness in the air then.
Immigration has always been part of the Welsh story, and so has the anxiety people feel about it. But although it may be an emotive issue, how much significance should we really attach to it as we prepare to head to the polling stations? Wales has no say over the number of asylum seekers who come here, as immigration policy is decided in Westminster. In December, there were around 3,350 asylum seekers in Wales, the vast majority living in so-called dispersal accommodation in the community. 74 were in hotels, all in Cardiff. Then there were refugees who'd entered the country on resettlement schemes, around 8,500 from Ukraine and about 1,000 from Afghanistan. In total, asylum seekers and refugees from the two schemes numbered 12,770, around 0.4% of the population. In the UK as a whole, just over 100,000 people claimed asylum last year.
It's widely believed that Britain grants asylum to far more people than other countries in Europe. And that's really not the case at all. France, over 150,000, and Germany, over 160,000. Of the people who claim asylum in the UK, less than half are people who have come on small boats.
In Wales, the previous Welsh Labour government spent over £60 million on its Nation of Sanctuary programme, offering asylum seekers and refugees help with housing, financial support and English lessons.
So I want you to write.
Like this one taking place at a community centre in Cardiff. Outside, I meet Abdul, who's about to finish his university degree after fleeing war in Syria.
Safe space to...
He says the Nation of Sanctuary scheme has helped.
Everything was very complicated to understand at the beginning. But then I found that everything is well explained, and there is all the information are available. It helps a lot of people here in this city. I'm hoping that after I finish my study, then I will be able to get an employment and to be able to integrate here and to give back to society that give me the chance to build my life here. So, yeah.
Labour and Plaid Cymru say they'd keep the Nation of Sanctuary if elected, as do the Greens and Lib Dems. Reform, like the Conservatives, say they'd scrap it, claiming it's a waste of money and a pull factor driving illegal immigration.
I would argue that supporting people who have fled persecution and conflict to get support to integrate is really important. It also reduces pressure on other services because there are some specialist services that can really help meet people's needs.
Many of these immigrants are still waiting for a decision on their asylum claim. Back in Llanelli, the gates remain shut at Stradey Park, a hotel, but also now a symbol of the fierce debate around asylum.
Integration for me is the biggest thing. There's no integration here in the community if that was going to happen. That is just simply being bombarded all at once. Maybe 10 immigrants placed around, integrated into the communities correctly, and it would be a lot easier that way, you know? But the way it was done, you know, it was horrific.
It may be something that Wales can't control, but the issue of asylum still hangs over this election, perhaps nowhere more than in this corner of West Wales. Richard Morgan, ITV News in Llanelli.
Well, Richard joins me now. Richard, immigration, of course, as you explained in your report, not a devolved issue for Wales, but it is proving to be a huge talking point, and it will be a major issue for whoever makes up the next Welsh Government, won't it?
Well, Andrea, it's an issue that matters to people. It's an issue that crops up consistently in polling, even though Wales has no direct control over it. Politicians know this, and that's why you're hearing a lot about it, particularly from parties who favour stricter asylum controls. Now, when it comes to the nation of sanctuary policy, Reform says it's encouraging illegal immigration to Wales and putting pressure on public services. Others, for example the Lib Dems, will say that's misinformation because asylum seekers have no say over where they live. That's decided in Westminster. So, as ever, claim and counterclaim, but don't discount how important an issue this will be in many minds when it comes to voting on May the 7th.
OK, Richard, thanks very much indeed. Well, there are many other issues here and across Wales that will be on the minds of voters as we approach May, and we've been out with our ITV Cymru Wales ballot box today in this new constituency of Sir Gaerfyrddin to find out what will sway people here when it comes to polling day. Here we are in North Dock in Llanelli in the constituency of Sir Gaerfyrddin, and it's a very blustery day here on the coast today and a bit sunny, but we're here to find out how the political winds might be blowing for people here on May the 7th. Who are you running towards for the election?
Oh, Reform, no doubt about it. After what Labour have done to Wales over the last 25 years.
Over the years, the only party that has ever made Britain moderately successful and wealthy is the Conservative Party.
Probably a tactical vote for Plaid Cymru.
Is there any particular reason for that that's swaying you at the moment?
For Reform.
Because you wouldn't want to vote for Reform?
Not, yeah.
For you, it's kind of that tactical voting thing, as you said?
Yeah.
What are the issues that matter the most to you then?
Childcare, Welsh education. I'm a Welsh teacher myself, and that's really important to me that we get that right.
Well, cost of living, the price has gone stupid, the NHS is in a bit of a mess, so that's going to be sorted out, and homelessness.
The health service. I use it, but the medic side is brilliant, but the organisation side is very, very poor. The cost of living, policing, and dare I say as well, possibly the housing problem with migrants.
I reckon more of recycling and cleaning up probably this Llanelli area.
Was regeneration of Llanelli, because it's really gone downhill. I'm hoping there'll be more money going into Llanelli.
Well, really interesting to hear the mix of views, and on your screen now is the full list of candidates standing for the election in the Sir Gaerfyrddin constituency. The Welsh Labour leader said she was proud of her government's record on building social homes, despite missing their target. The Welsh Labour government had hoped to build 20,000 low-carbon social homes by this year. Whilst on a visit to a housing development today, Eluned Morgan said that target would be met in November instead.
I think it's
absolutely remarkable that we're going to hit that target in November this year. So it's literally a matter of months late, and that is despite the massive inflation in the housing sector. So I think we can be really proud of that record, and the fact is that there are 20,000 families across Wales today who are in a much better situation thanks to a Labour government.
And a reminder that you can find out more about what each party is offering online and in a new series where Rob Osborne sits down with the leaders. Tonight it's the Welsh Lib Dems and Green Party leaders, and that is on ITV1 at 7:30 p.m, and you can also find it on ITVX. Well, that is it from us in Llanelli this evening. Next week we continue our tour where this box will be landing in my stag, so look out for us there. But for now, back to you, John.
Andrea, thanks very much indeed. You're watching Wales at 6, a reminder of tonight's top story. The takeover of Cardiff Rugby by Ospreys owner Y11 has been abandoned. The Welsh Rugby Union has confirmed that it still intends to fund all 4 regions until the end of the 2027-28 season. However, the union is adamant that it wants to axe a region in 2 years' time. And still to come on the ITV Evening News.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, UK inflation rises as the war in Iran drives up fuel prices. Why scientists are saying climate change is extending hay fever misery. And how the Corrie star Beverly Callard's second stint in the jungle led to her cancer diagnosis. Will you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Weather time, and on a lovely day, Ruth has got the forecast and a real treat for us. Ruth.
John, hi there, very good evening to you. Welcome to Wynallt Forest, just outside Cardiff, an area renowned for, well, frankly, for this time of the year, and you can see exactly why. The forest floor turns from brown to a sea of blue. The bluebells are out in force. I'm going to tread very carefully because these little chaps are actually protected. Did you know it's illegal to dig up and sell wild bluebell bulbs? But aren't they just a fantastic little chaps? So there are different varieties, plenty of them, but actually here in the UK, over half of the world's bluebell population calls home. It's quite incredible, isn't it? And they are, as I said, protected. Lots of different varieties, and as I say, they come into bloom early in the year because they want to make the most of the sunlight before the trees go into full bloom. So of course the bluebells are synonymous then with spring, and spring is very much in the air at the moment. It's been a glorious day, hasn't it, across much of Wales. We have had blue sky and we have had sunshine, although it did turn a little bit hazy this afternoon. As you can probably see, and we saw Andrea battling with the winds earlier in the programme as well, it has certainly been quite breezy out here. And that's added a little bit of a nip to the air, but actually the winds will start to drop back over the next few days. And actually by tomorrow we could see temperatures in the low 20s. So let's take a look at that forecast.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
Well, the settled weather we've had and will continue to have as we head through the rest of the week and actually into the coming weekend is all thanks to this area of high pressure. That's good because it's blocking, it's effectively stopping any nasties heading in our direction. So any frontal systems are being kicked back out into the Atlantic. So as I said, settled weather certainly for the next few days. It is settling down here this evening, a little bit breezy still, but the winds will drop back. There is cloud in the sky. That cloud will edge its way northwards and eastwards by the early hours of tomorrow morning, largely fizzling out altogether. And it's certainly going to be cold. The range in temperature, all very normal for this time of the year, could actually be cold enough in more shelter spots for a little bit of air frost, possibly across the far northeast where there's a bit more shelter from the breeze, but a chill in the air, hence the layers at the moment. As you wake though to tomorrow morning, it is going to be a beautiful start to the day. A little bit of a breeze, but that wind will die back during the course of the day, and actually brighter skies than we've seen today. And that, of course, that combination of a gentle breeze and blue skies means that the temperatures are going to rise. Could be the hottest day of the year so far. Tomorrow we've had 20.9 Celsius a couple of weeks ago. Tomorrow we could well hit 2021 down across the far southeast, but it is going to be a lovely day. Just be careful though, because the sunshine gaining strength all the while, so we've got moderate to high levels of UV. If you're making plans to head out and about through tomorrow night, again, might be worth taking some extra layers, because the high pressure that's sort of keeping things settled dances around the UK, keeps skies clear, and that allows those temperatures to drop. So cold tomorrow night. By the time most of us wake though to Friday, it is going to be another bright and beautiful day. Blue sky and sunshine for everyone.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
It feels, John, almost enchanted here in this forest surrounded by all these bluebells. Apparently there's myth and legend. It means that the fairies are all around us, and I just think there's something quite magical about that, isn't it? It's just lovely. Happy spring.
It is indeed. I used to play there as a kid, one of my favourite spots. That's all from us for this evening. Megan Boot will be back with the late update. Until then, thanks for watching.